Hey, vinyl community, Richard S. back with part two of our series on shoegaze. Part one was all about dream pop and the ethereal side of the shoegaze music in general. So groups like Cocteau Twins and all of the quieter bands, so to speak. This is going to delve more into the classic shoegaze bands that kind of influenced the whole genre, leading out all the way through the mid to late 80s, well into the 90s. So, to kind of get this thing started, we have to talk about the Jesus and Mary chain. Um, this is Psycho Candy, considered probably one of the early frontrunners for bands that were called shoegaze, so to speak. Again, shoegaze being that all of the band members look like they're ignoring the audience because they're paying way too much attention to what their feet are doing with reverb pedals and whatnot to make the sound they make. These guys make a hell of a racket on this album, but it is fantastic. So Psycho Candy is considered one of the first shoegaze-ish albums, probably around the time people were going, what are they doing? They're just standing there staring at their feet. What's going on? Back to this before I move on. Jesus and Mary Chain were one of that many bands that I'll talk about, assigned to Creation Records out of England. A hugely influential label for shoegaze too. There is a wonderful DVD movie interview series called Upside Down, the Creation Records story. Talks a lot about the whole movement, Creation Records, and Alan McGee, and the plethora of bands that were on the label too. So there is a CD, there is a DVD for your viewing enjoyment that would be a brilliant overview to that particular label as far as what they were doing with shoegaze. But anyway, onward. So Jesus Mary Chain were on Creation, as were Adorable. This is a later reissue. Adorable only had a couple of albums. They were kind of not a black sheep, but a late runner into the Creation Records time, that just before Creation got bought out by Sony in 92 was around the time these guys got dropped from the label. So two albums, but another, fuzzy guitar heavy. I would say a lot of the shoegaze bands talking about how dream pop is more ethereal. Shoegaze in this era was more guitar forward and melodic in different ways, but we'll talk. So Adorable. Band of Susans, another one, not from Creation. This is actually an American band. So Band of Susans, Love Agenda is another, has that sort of abrasive dig with guitars. Really fun album. Not terribly hard to find, but highly recommended. So Band of Susans, Pursuit of Happiness, It's Locked Away, Birthmark. I think all of side one on this is amazing. There they are, looking all shoegazy. Great album. Black Tambourine were very short-lived. They only put out a couple of albums, if I remember correctly. This is a kind of a later reissue on Slumberland Records that kind of put together some EPs. I can't remember if they just did one album. But this is epic. Great songs, tight, fuzzy, all of the good things that I love about shoegaze in and of itself. So Black Tambourine is a classic band. These guys, I was pulling out a lot of albums that were just considered classic or 90s era or 80s into the 90s. Blair 1523. What can I say about these guys? 6-song EP. Again, it just has that noisy bent to lyricism and melody that's just in your face, wall of sound stuff that's right up my alley. So this was on Bomp Records, I think. I want to say this is a reissue that I found in the early 2000s. But looking on Wikipedia, you'll find just look shoegaze lists and lists of bands. It's really it isn't just My Bloody Valentine and a few others. It's a lot of acts, including these guys, Catherine Wheel. Several albums, all of them good. My favorite being Ferment. I think this is their first one. You've ever heard that song, I Want to Touch You, is on this one. Ooh, look at them. They look cool. So Catherine Wheel had four albums. Kind of drifted over time away from that shoegazy sound, but this is kind of more representative of that. Another classic that recently got reissued, one authorized, one not authorized. This is Drop 19's. Delaware is an absolute classic. It's on the lower key side of shoegaze, but shoegaze nonetheless. I love this album cover. It's so cool. This is the not Mobile Fidelity, Music on Vinyl reissue. Then the band had another reissue where instead of holding a gun in here, she's holding flowers. Artistic choice? I don't know. Great album. This came out, the unofficial reissue came out last year, then the band reissue came out this year. Excellent album. Then you get the more space rock version of shoegaze where there's a lot of effects going on, but it's a little bit more low tone, but still in your face. This is Flying Saucer Attack. What an amazing album. They have a few albums. I think this is the only one I have. Just the cover alone makes you kind of go, ooh, what's going on here? I'll show you the back too. You're paying attention to some of this stuff. I don't know. Great album. Very almost prog-ish because there's so much going on throughout the whole album. Super One, another classic album. I want to say that's from the 90s. As is Hum. Hum were kind of the MTV darlings of like MTV's 120 Minutes in the late 80s, early 90s. I absolutely love this album, and it took me forever to get it on vinyl. I think it was out of print for ages. Reissued in 2012. So it might still be a little tricky to find. Great album. Little Dipper, The Pod, Stars, Suicide Machine. Awesome album from Hum. They have several albums, and all of them are absolutely amazing, and I would even consider essential. Another classic band. This is not the original album cover. I thought I pilled it, but I don't have it. This is Lily's In the Presence of Nothing. This is a reissue that was a Pledge Drive funded project where all of the covers were custom printed and hand drawn, signed on the back, limited edition. I got number 12 out of 300. Pretty cool. Another more of the, not ethereal, can't use that word because I really have those in-your-face guitars, but lower key shoegaze albums, but this is an absolutely gorgeous album too, of the classic group. Loop are one of my favorites. These were on Creation, so that's another one of the bands that come up on their roster. Loop are more psych shoegaze, very drony, lots of repetitive elements. Some of their songs can be quite exhausting, and they're one of the louder bands out there too. Heaven's End was their first one. What I find with Loop is I find that their stuff comes over better live. So Loop's Wolf Flow album, which is reissued on Record Store Day many years ago, 2017. I still occasionally find this one in the racks here and there. So this is absolutely my favorite Loop album of all of them. I think they have 3 albums, but all of them excellent. Gotta talk about this one. This is Love's Lies Crushing. One word, And the album is called, also one word, Blow Eyelash Wish. Beautiful cover, and I would say the cover actually represents what's going on in this album. Very hushy vocals, but over an absolute onslaught of sounds and bleeps and bloops, and there's a lot going on behind the vocals. And it isn't that you can really understand what the vocals are, what the songs are about, but Love Lies Crushing is an absolute classic. This is another one of the Pledge Drive funded ones that I managed to pick up many, many years ago, probably at least over 10 years ago. Beautiful album. I think it's out on CD too. It might be tricky to find, but it might be streaming somewhere. So it's Love's Lies Crushing, one word. Awesome, awesome classic shoegaze album. And another band that's in that same realm is Medicine. Medicine has a very abrasive guitar tone, especially on this album. This is the Buried Life album. This was my favorite Medicine album, but they have one that people seem to like more, which is the Shot Forth Self-Living album. Both very similar in vein. I mean, the covers, again, kind of represent what you're listening to. It's absolutely fascinating stuff. So, Medicine is definitely high on the list of classic shoegazers. Another one is a group called The Meeting Place. Meeting Places, my bad, sorry. I love this cover. Just so many negative images I've seen just looking at some of these covers. The Meeting Places, Find Yourself Along the Way album. Another classic one. It isn't that any of these bands didn't have hits. They're just such shoegaze being very niche to a lot, because a lot of people were put off by the fuzziness of it wasn't music you could dance to or music you could sing along to. But the Meeting Places and their follow-up to this, I think it's Numbered Up. Awesome albums, well worth tracking down. Then we get to the granddaddy of the shoegazers, is the My Bloody Valentine. What can I say about My Bloody Valentine that hasn't been said already? This was the album that this is my favorite album of all time, full stop. Interestingly, when I first got it, I think I've mentioned it before, I hated this album. I thought it was just noisy, trashy, brashy, what was going on? But the more I listened to it, I kind of started to see where the flow was with the pitch bending and the tremolo and what the percussion was doing. The vocals were just buried so far in the back that it's not that you don't pay attention to them, it's just really hard to follow along. But beautiful, beautiful album. To me, must be played in full every single time. I did finally see My Bloody Valentine on their MBV tour 2014, 18, somewhere around there. Yeah, it's everything you've ever heard about a My Bloody Valentine concert. It is loud, it's in your face, you feel everything here. You feel your internal organs vibrating. It's so in the face. Wear earplugs, you will need them if they ever tour again. Hopefully they'll release another album, it would be great. Absolutely love My Bloody Valentine. Ride, or another classic of the shoegazers. This is probably their most known album. For songs like Seagull and Kaleidoscope, there were a number of singles off of their Nowhere album. That's this one. But I actually think I prefer more. The follow-up to it was Going Blank Again. I love this album. Cover art's a little... what's going on here? Leave Them All Behind is an absolute stone cold classic shoegaze song. It is huge and big and loud, and it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and the build is just fantastic. Look for some live footage of that song live in the 90s, and you just like, whoa, they're going to town with this one. Great album, great band. I've seen Ride a couple of times. They've not broke up, but kind of went on hiatus forever, and then started releasing new albums. They have a new album they released this year in 2024 too. Secret Shine. Oh, look at the kitty. Oh, look, another negative image. What is it with negative images and shoegaze albums and purple? What's going on? Another classic. You look this up on one of the Wikipedias or classic shoegaze albums. Secret Shine's Untouched album. Absolute classic. Love this one for all the same reasons of all the other ones. It's in your face. It's wonderful. It's fun to listen to. I cannot remember. This was a St. Marie Records reissue from many years ago. I don't even know if it's still in print. Sorry. A lot of these albums are hard to find, I have to admit, but they reward well. Another one of the more psychedelic, trippy, if there's such a thing as stoner gaze, Spaceman 3 would be stoner gaze. They even have an album called Music to Do Drugs By. This is Recurrence. I just love I think this was featured on my favorite album covers video too. But they're more trippy. There's a lot going on, and all of their albums are very different. Some are very drony. Some are very just sort of they're just sort of out there, and it's like, what is going on? So Recurrence is a great album, and they're another one of the shoegazers that I think their live material comes off better than some of their studio records. So found this one a couple of years ago. It's live in Europe '89. I don't know if it's official, but it is stunningly good. And it has all of their, again, dronier songs on here too. A couple more. Bear with me. We're almost done. Still with me? Good. Swirlies. This is essential. Blonder Tongue Audio Baton. I love this album, and I was so happy when I found a reissue of it. Again, the same deal. The vocals are there, but it's the guitars and the effects and the whole interplay of the wall of sound stuff that absolutely turns me on to everything that's all good about shoegaze. So Swirlies are another essential classic shoegaze band, as are the Telescopes. The Telescopes, though, are kind of all over the place. They have some shoegazy stuff, and then they have stuff that's just out there and it doesn't really categorize. Maybe they're more alt shoegaze. They're just different, or even, trying to interpretive shoegaze. I don't know. Taste is super sampler of Telescopes, but super album too. Then I have a few that I just want to talk about real quick. Pale Saints. This is another essential one. This is The Comforts of Madness, which is a classic, kind of like that Lilies album I showed you earlier. Boo Radleys were another fantastic band in that early shoegaze. New Zealand's Bailter Space. This is Robot World. This is really fun. I was playing this earlier. And no discussion of shoegaze would be remiss to have Swerve Driver on the list. It is just my favorite genre of music. If I could pick one, and just pulling all of these together, I ended up with like 2 crates full of albums. So those were the classic shoegazers. What I want to go into in part 3 will be the new gaze group. It's after around 2000, some other emerging bands go, hey, wait, we like this sound too. What can we do with it? So there is a whole new group of shoegaze bands that are still doing this and carrying it on into the millennium. So we'll talk more about that. But thanks for coming along with the ride with me. Again, check out that Upside Down Creation Story stuff for a great overview of a lot of their bands too that were on that label. They were hugely influential. All right, we will talk to you all later. Bye.